Now, the next topic here is effect of addition of non-volatile solute to a solvent on its vapor pressure. That means what is going to be the effect of the vapor, what is going to be the effect on the vapor pressure of a liquid when a non-volatile solute is added. Right? So before we discuss, let's have a look on these two diagram here. Right? So first is depicted as A and the second is depicted as B. Now let's see the first case. Student, here a beaker containing the pure solvent. Let it be water. It has been taken here. This is the pure solvent. Right? Here you can see that the surface of the and it is covered so that the vapor doesn't escape from this container. So the surface of this solvent is being occupied by the pure solvent molecules, right? So when it is going to absorb the heat from the surrounding and it is going to escape, right? These molecules on the surface are going to escape and they are going to form the vapor. So you can see here the vapors are being formed, right? Now when we add a non-volatile solute, so here when we are adding non-volatile solute, so the solution is being formed, right? Before that it was the liquid, pure solvent. Now when a solute is being added, it is being changed into the solution, right? So we have got here solute plus solvent. The solvent is volatile and the solute is non-volatile. So here you can see that now the surface of the liquid of the solution is covered by both the components, that means solute and the solvent. So solvent is the simple sphere and the darkened sphere is indicating the non-volatile solute. So here these darkened spheres are representing the non-volatile solute molecules, right? So though they are not volatile, that is, they don't have a tendency to escape right from the surface of the solution, but then also they are occupying the surface of the solution. As a result, you can see that the number of this volatile component, that is the volatile solvent, is reduced here, right? So the vapors of the solution, vapor the solvent, right, from the solution is formed very less. So what you can see here that the vapor pressure of the pure component, that is the pressure exerted, since the vapors are formed here more, so the pressure will be exerted more. So greater is the, we can say the volatile component, right, a volatile solvent, the vapor pressure will be observed to be more in case of a pure solvent. Whereas in case of a solution which contains a non-volatile solute, the vapors formed will be less. As a result, the vapor pressure exerted by the vapor pressure of the solution is going to be less with respect to that of the pure solvent. Right? So we can say that on addition of non-volatile solute, the vapor pressure of solution decreases, right, due to the non-volatile molecules occupying the surface of solution which do not contribute to the vapor pressure of solution. right? So the vapor pressure of solution is only because of the vapor pressure of the pure solvent, right? Or we can say vapor pressure of the volatile solvent only. And since the solute don't contribute to the vapor pressure, so what will happen? The vapor pressure of the solution will be found to be less than the vapor pressure of the pure solvent. So this is clear to all. Students, the next topic is the Raoult's law, and it is very important law which governs the vapor pressure of the solution. Right? The solution can have either the two components, then it will be known as a binary, or it can have more than two components. Right? This law is applicable to determine the vapor pressure of the individual components as well as that of the solution completely. But there is a condition that the Raoult's law is applicable only when the components are visible to one another. That means the two components or more than two components they are visible. Right? Now in our syllabus or in your class 12 syllabus we have the binary solution. So we will discuss here the Raoult's law for the binary solution. Now what does the Raoult's law states? It states, now we are going to discuss the Raoult's law under the two headings. The first is the Raoult's law for the solution containing the volatile components or the Raoult's law for the volatile liquid. Now, it means that when both the components, that is solute and the solvent, they are volatile in nature, then the Raoult's law states that the vapor pressure of each component is directly proportional to the mole fraction of it at a given temperature. Now, why we have to mention given temperature every time? Because the vapor pressure will be marked for a particular temperature, right? So, the Raoult's law for the volatile liquid states that at a particular or at a definite or at a given temperature, the vapor pressure of each component is directly proportional to its mole fraction. Right? A mole fraction, we are just relating it with the concentration of that solute in the solution, right? So the vapor pressure that will be of each component will be proportional to its mole fraction, and therefore the greater the mole fraction of the solute or that solvent, more is going to be the vapor pressure of that component. Now, let us say that we have got two components A and B. Let A be the solvent and B with the solute. Then the vapor pressure of component A, right, it will be denoted by PA, right. Now this PA is the vapor pressure of that solvent. Now, since we are considering it in the form of solution students, so here I will add the partial vapor pressure of each component, right. So just get noted here that this is the partial pressure because we are discussing now the vapor pressure of the component when they are in the solution. So it will be partial vapor pressure of each component. So here student, the PA is the partial vapor pressure or the partial pressure of component A, that is the solvent. It is going to be in accordance to Raoult's law directly proportional to the mole fraction of A. Similarly, PB will be directly proportional, that is partial pressure of B or the partial pressure of the solute will be directly proportional to the mole fraction B. right? Now since this is a proportionality sign, we have to remove it. So when we remove this proportionality sign, a constant will be there, and that constant with respect, we can say to the Weber pressure, right, is in term of A or B will be the Weber pressure of the pure component, right? So here PA will be equal to P naught A dot XA. So P naught A will be always a constant for this particular component, right? The pressure of the pure component is a constant term. PA can increase or decrease. The partial vapor pressure can increase or decrease, but this P naught A is going to be fixed. Similarly, PB is equal to P naught B dot mole fraction of B. So here the P naught A is the vapor pressure of solvent, or we can say of pure solvent. Right? Similarly, P naught B is the vapor pressure of pure solute. Right? So the Raoult's law just is, we can say, it just helps to predict or just helps to calculate out the vapor pressure, or we can say help out to calculate the partial pressure or the partial vapor pressure of the components of the solution as well as the vapor pressure of the solution. So how we can find out the vapor pressure of the solution now? It will be P equals to PA plus PB. That is, vapor pressure of the solution will be equal to or will be the sum of partial air pressure or partial pressure of A and partial pressure of B. Right? Now if we just place the value here, so P equals to P naught A dot mole fraction of A plus P naught B dot mole fraction of B, partial pressure into the mole fraction. You can also define the Raoult's law in the way that at a given temperature, the partial pressure of the partial pressure of each component in the solution is directly proportional to the product of the Weber pressure of the pure component and its mole fraction. You can define in this way also that the partial pressure or the partial pressure of each component is directly proportional to the product of the Weber pressure of the pure component and its mole fraction. Right? And one thing to keep in mind that the Raoult's law is applicable only when the liquids are properly miscible or are completely miscible to one another. If they are not, this law will not be applicable.